Rowan, we have to do a high five at the start of this episode. Tell
Okay,
you
so
why.
virtual, like
Virtual,
right now.
virtual high five. All right. All right. Up top, down low,
Okay, boom.
up in heaven.
Okay.
6-7.
Oh my God, dude, I just got like set up perfectly and just knocked away. Oh my gosh, everyone in the comments is gonna be like, this guy just got bodied.
They're already actually getting me for randomly saying 6-7. So I have to full commit to it. But shout out Annabelle in juniors for winning Gdansk. We made a deal where if she won, I had to go live saying 6-7. So shout out to her.
Yeah, I think we've had a few episodes in a row of 6-7, but yeah, congratulations to Annabelle. I mean, taking it down with Guardy as well. I mean, we tend to see less Gardevoir being played in the junior division, but she's making it work. So good for her. I think she did well in Gdansk as well, right? Was she in the final or the top four?
In
And
Lille,
and Kenji, or sorry, did she win? She won Gdansk
yeah,
and
one
thinged
Gdansk,
Lille.
second in Lille. Yeah, she's had
Second in
a
Lille. Okay,
a little bit
sweet.
of a heater to start the season. I can't lie. She's cooking.
She's cooking. We'll
We
get
got
the Gabriel Fernandez stat line going in seniors potentially.
oh man, we'll have to see how LAIC goes. I suppose that's a pretty ridiculous stat line. But
No,
she's
that'd be crazy.
her BFL is looking pretty good. I think she's got a first in 2 seconds already. So
That's awesome.
not a bad way to start the season.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, on today's episode, I mean, we're mostly going to be talking about Gdansk. I'm sure we'll take a peek at the Brisbane regionals as well. And I think we'll save our Vegas and Buenos Aires discussion for next week. Was that all of our topics for today, or did we have more things to talk about?
That's about everything. We're gonna plug your I guess
plug the event.
Aneil's event. Is it Aneil's event? Who's
I don't
the actual
know.
organizer?
I think Aneil's mostly behind it. And then the other guy who's behind it is Geodude. Something Geodude is his tagline on Twitter. He's a cool guy.
Shout out Geodude.
But yeah, I'm not too involved in the production side. I'm going to do. I know Aneil and I are doing like a podcast episode live where we'll talk about the Vegas meta. I'm sure it'll be very unserious. I think the whole vibes of the event are pretty unserious. There's going to be a bar, and I think it'll just be a lot of fun. And I'm going to play a money match on stream versus LDF. And the format we're playing is we're playing best of 5. We're going to bring 3 different decks, so you have to win with all the decks once. And pretty much any competitive meta deck has been banned. We looked at Limitless like top meta share, and we went down to number 12. And Joltik Box is number 12, and even Joltik Box is banned. So gonna be playing some straight jank. Maybe get a Mega Venusaur deck in there, maybe some Mega Lucario. I'm not entirely sure yet, but I'm gonna be cooking up some crazy lists.
Or maybe you should get some input from the viewers on what decks you should bring to the money match.
Yo, leave some comments down below. I also was debating going to LDF's channel and like taking some of his decks because I know he tends to put together those super fun decks. I used to watch his videos a lot actually. So maybe I'll check out his channel and steal some lists.
Yes.
See if I can get that to work.
I played Wheezing Aerodactyl to that Toronto Regionals he played Wheezing to, and I think he made a video on my Wheezing Aerodactyl deck despite the fact I went like 6-3. It was so bad, dude.
That's hilarious.
Shout out Wheezing Aerodactyl.
It beat Lugia, which was like the only good deck at the time. Well, I mean, basically.
Oh. I mean, I beat Lost Box. Well, actually, I did lose to a Lost Box there. That guy had the stones every single turn. I think he had Snorlax Twin Energy turn 1 into like attach fire and just like started using Thumping Snore on turn 2.
Oh my gosh,
it was
so much
bad.
pressure on your Weezings.
It's way too much pressure on my Weezings. Okay. Anyways, if you want to attend that event, there are some tickets available. You can look through Aneil's tweet to find it, or I guess the link is up here. Shadow Ball, November 13th, 14th at Commonwealth. Not 14th. It's just November 13th, right? So yeah, on Thursday.
Yeah, just the Thursday
before Vegas.
Yeah, so if you're in Vegas on the Thursday, you're looking for something to do, hang out with some Pokemon people, and not necessarily play a ton of Pokemon. I mean, there will be tables you can play some Pokemon, hang out. I think it'll be a fun place to be. I'm really excited for it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, this actually makes me kind of wish I was going to Vegas. Vegas sounds like a very fun regional to be at. So I'm sad I'm missing this event, but I'll be sure to tune in as you guys are doing the money match.
Yeah, we'll see. I think I might lose. Like, I feel like LDF might have the edge in this format. Like, if I could play like Guardy and Dragapult, like I'm feeling pretty good, but I'm out of my element. So
yeah,
we'll see.
you don't know how to play jank decks. When's the last time you
No,
played
I
a jank? It was Wheezing the last time you played like a truly jank deck to a regional.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I remember
I played
playing that. It was like so unserious for that stretch.
I played it to like 3 regionals in a row. I think at the time my like university course load was pretty heavy, and I was just like, you know what? Like I'm just gonna play this Wheezing deck. It was okay. It beat Lugia. I top 32'd like 1 or 2 regionals with it, so
Dude.
it's not bad.
Dude, look at this deck
Yeah.
is so unserious, dude. 2 Yellhorn, 4 Boucher.
Yeah, no, okay, the list was like actually pretty bad at the start. There's so many cards that just don't need to be there. Um,
4 Fan of
yeah,
Waves.
Yellhorn was crazy.
That was the Yellhorn was for things like Snorlax, or what was that? There were some things that like couldn't be you couldn't deal damage to them, right? Like you just could not deal with them unless you had like a way to confuse them. They flip tails, right?
No, it was mostly just to put more pressure on like one Pokemon that's sweeping through your Weezings. Like something like a Palkia V-Star would actually just like sweep your board.
Yeah.
And so you would just make them flip. So they're building up a lot of every tails, they build up like 8 damage from poison and 3 from the confusion. So instead of the Palkia killing like 3 or 4 Weezings, it might only get 1 or 2. I think also like same idea with Arceus, but like you just lost to those decks anyways, so I don't really know what the point was.
Yeah. Oh man, Fan of Waves. I can't believe this is worth playing 4 copies of. It's like such a terrible card, but I guess it works, right? Like they're never gonna find their energies again. It does it.
No, it was
good
good.
enough.
I should have played 4 Flannerys. I think is there 3 in the list?
You got 3 Flannerys.
Yeah, that's like crazy. I think eventually I might have had 4.
For anyone that's listening to the audio, essentially we're just looking at a bunch of cards that put special energies in the discard pile or back into the deck. It's just a complete
that's the whole
jank.
thing.
Yeah. Galar Mine.
And you have Silene to put back the Flannerys and the pal pads, and yeah.
Extra retreat cost. Yeah, this is something.
If you look at my Knoxville list,
better.
I'm still not playing 4 Flannery. It's definitely better. I got Clara, which was actually sick to get back Weezings against Lost Box, because you actually wanted like 6 Weezings there.
Oh yeah.
I got up to 3 pal pads, like not playing, and I played Piers, which was like so sick. Like that was just a really good supporter card. Just like set up a Weezing for free.
Dude, I love this card. It was because his Piers let you grab any energy card, so you were grabbing your specials. When I was playing my Weezing Aerodactyl deck, this was a special, man. I was grabbing my like luminous energy so I could put on my Empoleon V.
Oh my gosh! I mean, yeah, because you're blocking. It blocked flower selecting, right?
Yeah.
Empoleon.
So because my deck wasn't just Weezings, I couldn't block Escape Rope. So my solution was just playing Empoleon V. So that way, when they Escape Rope, I just shove up a basic Pokemon that also ability locks. Pretty
nice.
Pretty jank, but it actually did the job well. That deck was fun. Anyways, this deck is not something I would recommend playing. This is Quad Thorns in the year of 2022. I don't think Rowan's in his element playing Quad Thorns to the LDF money match. We'll see.
No, I'm thinking, the other, like Conkeldurr. Conkeldurr could be a cook, right? Lots of decks that don't play item lock. No Budu, hopefully. We'll see.
Dude, a random Budu could be hype, and Frostlass Monkey actually might cook this format, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, okay. Frostlass Monkey could be devastating. I gotta analyze the meta game of like the decks that are like not meta, you know? And, like,
Shout out Kenji as well, got top 4 in Gdansk as well with the same 60 he played to Milwaukee, only losing to Annabelle. Actually, I want to talk about Annabelle's list quickly. Kenji kind of got destroyed because Annabelle was playing this Guardy Flutter main, and so one of the biggest strategies for the Frostlass Monkey in this matchup is actually just to put Ting Lu in the active, and then you shut off Adrenabrains on damaged
Mm,
Monkey Dories. But Annabelle is
okay.
playing a Flutter Main list, which shuts off Ting Lu, so it
Oh,
doesn't really work too well. So it doesn't quite have the same synergy, and as well having the Turo where you can remove your damaged Flutter Main, so you can get your ability back as well. Although I suppose it's like
I
one of
know.
those situations where if you're if your Fluttermane's blocking Ting Lu's ability first, even if Fluttermane then takes a damage counter, Fluttermane was there first. So
Hmm.
Ting Lu still doesn't have an ability. So you'd have to reset it by going out of the active and then back in. Would that even work?
Wait,
No, that wouldn't even work.
no. Whoever's there first has priority. So you'd like Kenji would have to boss around the like counter catcher around the Fluttermane. But then it would work. Like counter catcher the Fluttermane to the bench. Then it
Uh,
would take some damage.
yeah,
I'm sure you could make it work.
you could make it
I don't
work.
really know exactly how, but I'm sure you could find a way.
Yeah, although this list is a disaster for Frostlast Monkey because it also has a boss in it.
Yeah, just
A
so
boss and a
much
Fluttermane and a
counterplay.
Turo. Yeah, it's it's a rough time. But this Guardian list was super fun. Actually really liked the inclusion of the boss and the Turo. Like it actually dealt with. I remember we were talking about Absol and a lot of that stuff there. The random boss is actually super powerful in those slower matchups. You just would get out of a lot of weird spots where you couldn't gust around an Absol late game and just win the game for free. So that was pretty sweet. And then Turo is just generally a pretty useful card. So shout out to Annabelle. Wonderful result. I think the same 60 as well on both. Yeah. Pretty goated limitless page here.
Yeah, it is fire.
So that's super sweet. I guess that's a good segue for us to talk about Masters in Gdansk.
Yeah, I mean, I think a few things really stood out to me here. Of course, we saw Goldango have some success for the first time in a little bit. We could probably start with that. Talk about Daniel Magda's list.
Yeah, how do you feel about the secret box? This is an A spec that was pretty heavily played in the what I would call the old European innovation of this deck. They all played to Worlds with the Reverum and the Fan Rodom and Levencias, but now we're seeing the A spec played in a different version of Goldango and still seeing success. How do you feel about the secret box in Dango?
Uh, I don't know. I feel like it's actually kind of fraudulent. I hear a lot of people say it's really good. I've played some games against Dango with the Dango deck. I feel like it doesn't get as much value from Secret Box as some of the other decks in the format. Um, I understand that like Arvin gets you like Artisan plus Poffin, and then you can get like the missing half of the Soul Rock Lunatone thing. But I feel like I'd rather just play Precious Trolley. I think that would get more value off an Arvin. What do you think about that?
Yeah, for purposes of your turn one, for sure Trolley's better. Secret Box has more flexibility, so it means that it's a fifth boss if you naturally draw into it, but at least looking at this deck list, it kind of feels like a big part of playing the card is to search for it. There's no reason why your deck should ever include a Team Rocket's Petrol unless the whole purpose is to search for Secret Box. So I don't actually like this as much as the Prime Catcher. I do think the Prime Catcher is the best way to play the deck. I've been preaching the Prime Catcher for a while. Just feels like it works with the deck strategy very well. It helps you with retreat lock problems. It lets you high roll even harder when you're already a high roll deck. Secret Box definitely helps with a lot of those similar situations, but Prime Catcher feels a little bit more versatile, and it turns your like this deck has effectively five bosses, where that deck has effectively eight bosses as long as your Prime Catcher is not used. So when your goal is to just play boss every single turn, I know this deck already does a phenomenal job doing that, but I think the Secret Box is really just kind of a get boss card in most cases when I look at it. Yeah, it gets Turo as well, but Prime Catcher kind of fixes the get Turo in a lot of your spots as
Yeah.
well. So I'm definitely feeling the Prime Catcher list more, and we'll talk about that because Christian Font not played that. How do you feel about the Mega Mawile though? That's more of the standout to me from this list. The cornerstone answer, the Toad Scroll answer, whatever you want to call it. How do you feel about Mega Mawile?
I think it does all the things it's meant to do better than any other option, right? Like if you want to beat Cornerstone, you want to beat Toad Scroll. I will say it doesn't beat Crustle, but
No.
you can attack it with the Soul Rock. But like a Crustle with a Lux Cape, you're not really beating that, I don't think.
Yeah.
But it does what it's meant to do, right? If you want to beat Cornerstone, if people are playing that, I think Mega Mawile is the best option. Um, I think
How do
it
you?
also comes up in some niche scenarios in the end game where like on your second last turn, like you're going down to 2 prizes, you can just bench Mega Mawile with a metal, and then off of like the final Iono to 1 or 2, if you just draw another metal energy, there's your knockout instead of needing like a big Dango knockout.
Yeah.
I think that actually comes up sometimes.
Against decks that are looking to go around your attacking Dango specifically. I don't know how often that happens with a deck like Dango. So against maybe the slower decks like Dragapult, you could
Like
afford it.
Dragapult is really what I was thinking about.
Yeah, it depends on if the 3 prize liability is worth it. And that's what I was going to talk about. Mega Mawile for sure is a better card for its use cases, but one of the deck's biggest strengths is having a 1 prize board. Mega Mawile is not a 1 prizer, and it is another Pokemon you can open. That's actually something that I don't like about this card, as opposed to a comparable answer like Mega Lucario. I know Mega Lucario's biggest downside is actually the fact that it's 2 spots as opposed to 1 spot. So I actually like the Mega Lucario as an answer more because of that, but it's an extra deck space. So this feels like more of a, slam 1 card in, you take out a fighting for another metal to justify the energy split, and then you just kind of put a band-aid over it. I think it works, reasonably well either way, but I do not like that where when you open Mega Mawile, when you open Fez, when you open Genesect, and I play a lot of Charizard, of course, but whenever you open a 2-prizer against a deck where you need to create the 1 prize board, it feels like pretty game losing. You run into Dengomir and you open Mega Mawile, like the game is just over. So unless you can Turo it, of course. You do play the Secret Box, so 3 outs to Turo.
3 outs to Turo.
And you do Lunar Cycle, so you see a decent amount of cards if you can afford to play Turo on your turn 1, turn 2. But I do have that concern as well.
Yeah, there are a lot of matchups where it is game losing. Is the Mega Lucario, are there other applications to it? I guess all the same ones as Mawile, where like maybe it comes down and you attach to it as some kind of attacker.
Yeah, doesn't do as much late game, but 2 for 270 is still pretty solid. That's actually one thing that is pretty important about Mega Lucario as well. Mega Mawile needs 3 manual attachments to get through a Cornerstone early game, which is presumably when you're going to need it. Maybe late game as well, but you'll for sure need it early game as well. So if you play the Mega Lucario and your opponent opens just like a Cornerstone, you can knock it out significantly faster. The Mega Lucario does require you to play an Ultra Ball or a Cypher, I think, though.
Oh, because you have to find it. Yep.
So that would definitely be another downside of the card. Not that it's hard for you to just draw your entire deck against like slow game plans, but I would rather be able to get to it on turn 2 if I was choosing to play it. It's got its pros and cons for sure. Mega Mawile is probably better, but for the space reason. But I do like the versatility of Mega Lucario as an opener a little bit more.
Yeah.
We also have this top 4 list from Christian Fontenot. Shout out to him. He's been putting a lot of work in, and it's paid off here. Been playing Dango Rocks for a couple of events now, and finally made the switch from Precious Trolley to Prime Catcher. I actually talked to Christian a little bit after his top 4, and he did kind of admit that Precious Trolley was not the best way to be playing the deck. I think Piper was pressuring him after Lil as well to put a better ace spec in his deck, and he finally makes the transition over to Prime Catcher, and he has a fantastic run. So shout out to him. I really like his list. I know a lot of people have been discussing the amount of Poffins that you should be playing in the deck. If I had any gripe, I would say that I don't like 1 Poffin. I'd love to see a second Poffin in the deck. Seems a little bit greedy to play 1 Poffin if you prize your 1 Poffin and you want to Arven for it. Seems a little annoying. And one of the big benefits to playing this Prime Catcher version of the deck is simply that you will just have more space to play cards like Fighting Gong and Nest Ball, as opposed to the Precious Trolley version of the build playing less total surge cards and relying more so on the precious trolley. So if we're going to play more surge cards in our deck, I'd love to see like 3 fighting gong and then 2 buddy poffin as like a small adjustment there. But overall, I'm a big fan of this list. Do you have any follow-up thoughts? I know it's relatively similar.
Yeah. 2 things. One, and this is more of a question than a follow-up. Do you know what the Premium Power Pro is for? Is that like killing a specific Pokemon with Soul Rock?
Yeah, the card's really good actually. I was surprised to see Daniel not play it. It kills anything that is in the range of 90 to 110. So you're looking at your Dracloaks, you're looking at your monkeys, your Charmeleons, your Chiyus. It's actually very solid against a lot of those use cases. The primary one is usually going to be when your opponent is shoving up something and then trying to make a board where you can't take a prize card. So Premium Power Pro, let's say you're playing against Pulsar. That's one that has come up pretty consistently against. You like evolve your active into a Dracloak, and then you just evo into like Dracloak Charmeleon on the bench, and that's your entire board. At that point, you really do not want to put a 2 prizer into play because Chiyu just kind of wipes the floor with you. So you play Premium Power Pro, you can maintain your 1 prize board state, take a knockout on Dracloak, and continue to deny a 2 prize KO.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then my second thought is Lana's Aid. I've actually had a lot of people asking me about this. I think this card is supposed to be there as an answer to Frillish. I don't think it works. I don't know if it's there for something else, but I've played some games against this Lana's Aid, and yes, it usually prevents you from like actually decking out to Frillish, but it doesn't do anything to stop like Frillish attacking 4 turns in a row and then some big Devo play. It doesn't allow you, for example, to like boss kill Gardevoir because, I mean, 1, 3 energies is not really enough to be killing Gardevoir, and 2, like obviously you can't boss and Lana at the same time. It also means you can't be Turrowing to remove any kind of Frillish damage.
Yeah.
So I think this card is kind of fraudulent unless it's in here for another reason other than countering Frillish, and then like maybe it makes some sense. But I think that's really what it's here for, right? It's just getting energies under item lock.
Yeah, it's for sure just for that purpose. I think it'll work against inexperienced Gardevoir Jellicent players actually very effectively. They might not be able to establish damage on the board in a time-sensitive manner. They might use their Bravery Charm poorly and get into a spot where we don't have to worry about Soul Rock Vitality Band. So, or where we don't have to worry about Soul Rock Vitality Band not knocking out a Frillish with a Bravery Charm.
Yeah.
But I think with good execution from the Gardevoir side, I think you're right. I think that this is a very manageable card. And I guess the big thing would be, you know that you have to respect it, but you don't necessarily know if it's in the deck in the first place. So it can be a little bit of a surprise card as well, if maybe people just aren't thinking about it and they are going for that deck outline, and maybe they shove up a Frillish as a last ditch effort, and then this hits them from surprise after they see like 11 energies in the discard pile or something like that.
Yeah, I definitely have to be careful now against Dango, whereas before I felt like they were very predictable about their energy counts. Now, like, you get into some spots where they have 10 energy in the discard and like 1 prize remaining, and they have their Dango, and you're like, well, if they don't play Lana's Aid, I can just attack with Frillish and I win the game. But they could have the Lana's Aid, so now I'm going to do something else, right? So I'm probably going to evolve to Jellicent, maybe play an Iono, or maybe just attack with Frillish, hope they don't have the Lana's Aid. But it definitely is a card that makes me, like, I'm constantly thinking about it. I also think it means you need to be playing more Ionos. Like, quite often, if I know my opponent just doesn't have enough energies to close out the game, I'm just never going to play an Iono. I'm going to use Fez constantly and just have like a 10-card hand so that I guarantee Devo on the crucial turn. If they're playing Lana's Aid, I'm probably more inclined to want to be like playing Ionos on certain turns to get rid of it. So I think you do have to kind of adapt a bit to the Lana's Aid, but it shouldn't be game changing, really.
Yeah, I want to see how frequently this card is played, actually. Looks like we're looking at about 8% playing Lana's Aid. So not a super high fraction, but it's it's lurking there. Those cards that might be played but usually aren't makes it very challenging for your opponent in the sense that they have to kind of respect it. but
Mhm.
they might make these suboptimal plays like you're talking about because it could exist, not because it necessarily does exist. It's a very common trait with cards like Turo as well, where you look to play around a
Yeah.
Turo that might not exist. That's something where when the card is staple, it makes sense to play around it. When the card is not staple, it doesn't make sense to play around it. So if Lana's aid is 8%, maybe you're not playing around it, but then Alana's aid becomes more powerful because only 8% of people are
You're not
playing
playing
it.
around it.
Same thing with like Turo,
Yeah.
right? If only 8% of people are playing Turo, then people aren't going to play around Turo, and then you can just win the game on the spot with a Turo. So it's always a delicate balance between playing around the ghosts that might exist and also not making so optimal plays because these cards that are played 8% of the time could be in your opponent's deck.
And I think sometimes you can play like sometimes your draw is so good and your position in the game is so good that you can't afford to play around everything. Even if like it might not exist, sometimes you just are winning so much, you just start thinking of these random cards that could make you lose and how do you beat them. But then it's like when the game is a lot more close and you might lose even if you play around this card, then you start getting into the territory of like, well, I probably can't afford to play around this because the game's so close. I need to play around, things that they're going to have much more reasonably. Um, and then that's where you can get really blown out when you're kind of forced to not play around it. And then they do have it.
Yeah, playing around the main lines is going to be more important than playing around the random stuff for sure. So we also have a surprise getting second. We have Flareon. I know
Yeah.
I know Aneil's loving this for the entirety of this existence. Flareon getting second with a list that Emma Hagen has been refining and optimizing for the last little bit. I believe that she has played it the last 3 or 4 majors, and consistently, what we have seen is a Pidgeot line and a Wellspring, and no Sylveon. And it seems like she stands by this very, very hard that Sylveon and the Clefairy package is very bad, opting for things like Black Belt and Gravity Mountain to reach those critical numbers against Gardevoir and Dragapult. I know that we were talking a little bit before we went on, and you said you don't like this deck. I'm actually a pretty big fan of this deck, so why don't we start with your thoughts on the deck, and then I'll chime in as well.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, the biggest thing for me is that I think this deck's actually pretty poor into Gardevoir. I think regardless of what variant it is, I think like yes, in theory you can knock it out with the black belts training. Maybe also actually I feel particularly low on this because I am playing Frillish and I did test some games against this deck actually. Um, and when you play Frillish, Pidgeot just can never come online.
Mm.
And it's actually you get an interesting dynamic because Pidgey has 50 HP. And so to put down Pidgey, that dies to 2 monkeys. So if you put down the Pidgey, you're going to get item locked, and then now your Pidgey's a liability. So then maybe you just don't put down the Pidgey, but then your opponent doesn't even have to item lock you, and they can use TM Evo, right? So there's some interesting early game dynamics that most of the time result in Pidgeot not coming online, which segues into my more general concern with the deck, is that it's just very weak to Ionos. Quite often, like Iono knock out some Hoot Hoots, knock out a Fez. I find this deck suffers similarly to Terrabox to some of those late game Ionos when there's no Pidgeot.
Yeah, honestly, even more they suffer. I'm looking at this and I'm only seeing 2 Crispins. So if your game plan is reliant on hitting Crispin, kind of similarly to Terrabox has that early game Wellspring as a potential option, but chaining Wellsprings when your deck has 2 Crispins is like fighting a war. So you're definitely not hitting that through Iono Bidoof very often with only whatever 3 Noctowls and 1 Crispin left in your deck. So definitely some good food for thought. But I remember Emma did say that the whole reason the Gardevoir matchup was good is you just snowball a lot of games when Pidgeot gets set up. So my initial impression was actually that the version of the deck with Jellicent was weaker into this deck because Jellicent was not a super powerful attacker into Flareon. It died to Carnelian, but
Yep.
it actually looks like maybe the Jellicent version is better because Pidgeot is a very crucial part of their win condition. So not looking at evolving into Jellicent unless it really makes sense in the circumstance, but simply being able to block the Pidgeot from coming online really limits their options and lets you play for some of those disruptive lines that you might not be able to. Does
If they have the Pidgeot, yeah.
So does a deck like this existing and really being I guess they're really wanting to get items on that one specific turn in that early game, does that make it better than to play cards like you've been playing with the Air Balloon and the extra Arvins to make sure that you have a better chance of getting turn 1 item lock?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think this is not something I'm basing my deck decision on. It's, sub 5% meta share, but absolutely this is a factor that makes the turn 1 Frillish much stronger.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of Guardy lists. Guardy lists were very standardized before Mega Evolutions came out, and now we've seen a lot of innovation within the archetype. But one of the big things that we've seen is Air Balloon was played for that one tournament in Pittsburgh, and since then the Jellicent lists have been very all over on whether they include the card or not. But decks like this, not specifically this, but decks like this doing well, make playing a card like Air Balloon much more powerful. So I did want to chime in on why I do think this deck is pretty good,
yes,
though.
Please do.
Because you mentioned how shutting off Pidgeot is super strong, but the counterpoint is that there is not a ton of things that can shut off Pidgeot right now. It's kind of like playing Charizard Pidgeot in some ways, where item lock is almost fallen off of the top deck chart a little bit, where Dragapult is still that 10 to 11% deck, but it's no longer a 30% deck. You no longer have to worry about taking an aggressive knockout and getting unfair stamped into the ditch, right? So a lot of things that used to be pretty poor for this deck that look a whole lot better. And I do remember watching the finals game, and Emma has a pretty ridiculous play that gets Eevee back into a Flareon with the boosted evolution into the into the Briar, into the Glass Trumpet, and into the energy, and just gets a Burning Charge Briar play from 0 EVs on the board and just 2 Hoots. So I do like that this deck feels like it a lot of times just has whatever combo it needs between Glass Trumpet, Energy Switch, Gravity Mountain, Black Belt. You have a lot of different options to accomplish the same goal. So if your goal is, let's say, to Gravity Mountain kill a Gardevoir, you can also Black Belt kill a Gardevoir. And let's say you need to get 3 energies to Carnelian. You can do that with Crispin plus Glass Trumpet, or Crispin plus Energy Switch, or Crispin plus Sparkling Crystal. Right? There's a lot of different combinations that get you to the same result, which means you don't have to worry too much about prizing certain cards or even discarding certain cards, because you have multiple different combinations that can achieve the same result and the same overarching goals. So I do like that this deck can pull off those really big combos, especially when it has Pidgeot in play. It feels like almost every time, as long as the cards aren't prized, which I know happened in I think it was game 1, maybe game 2. I think it was game 1, where the Briar was prized, the Iona was prized, and that makes it a little bit challenging.
Yeah, I think one other thing or actually 2 other things I wanted to point out about this list. There's only one boosted evolution Eevee. And I found in one of the games I played with the deck, I prized the Eevee. Yeah. And not being able to Noctowl for an Eevee was a really big deal, as it blocked my ability to even get a Terra. And then I found myself, I drew a dead hand, and when I draw a dead hand in testing, I just shuffle it back and redraw.
Yeah.
And so we shuffled the hand back 3 or 4 times and drew a new hand. And every time the Eevee being prized just made the hand dead. So I think I might like to see another Eevee, maybe just 2 boosted evolution, or maybe one of the other one that can search Pokemon. I'm not sure.
Yeah. That was
there's no
the standard before.
Well. Yeah, when you had the Sylveon, the other one was really good because under Budu, you could use it to search out Sylveon against Dragapult, and that was really strong. But if we're not doing that, then maybe we're just using 2 boosted evolution ones. I think that might be reasonable.
Yeah,
I can't say I'm an expert on this deck.
There's even going down to the energy line, there's probably about 15 or 16 1-ofs. I'm not going to count it up, but there is so many 1-ofs that I think you will just have prizing troubles inevitably. Maybe right. It depends on the matchup, but if it is a a Briar matchup, for example, you can prize your boosted evolution EV, you can prize your Briar, you might be looking at prizing your Sparkling Crystal, right? Like at least 3 cards that are very, very devastating if you prize it. And yes, you do have different combinations that get you there. But if you prize any of these cards, it makes your job a whole lot harder as opposed to just playing a deck with heavy counts. So always thinking about that when it comes to overall deck building, and you probably have to high roll at least a little bit to get away with things like 2 Crispins in the deck as well.
I think the deck does love playing against like any of those aggro decks, the ones that aren't item locking. The decks like Dango, Sarah Ledge even. You're just going to be able to prize trade. They give some really crazy prize maps like the 1-2-3s with Briar. Of course, just like the normal 2-2-2s, and your deck kills everything. Leafeon EX is actually quite a strong attacker in a lot of matchups. So I definitely don't think this deck is bad. Yeah, pretty cool deck.
It is. I mean, it did get second and top 4 or top,
and of course,
top 8. So proving that in a meta, especially like what we kind of saw with a lack of Guardy, lack of Dragapult in Top Cut, can definitely succeed. Although I will say, I think Emma beat 2 Dragapult Dusknoirs in day 2. So
nice.
I think that the matchup is overwhelmingly unfavored when you look at the statistics for the summation of all players. But at the highest level, it looks like maybe Emma has found a strategy that is reliable enough to get through some of that early item lock pressure.
Mm-hmm.
I also wanted to talk about this latest innovation, latest list from Hermione, top 8ing again with another version of Secret Box Charizard, very similar to the list played last week, but made a few structural adjustments. Main one being cutting the Badoo from the deck. I think for the second Arven, not sure if there was any other changes in here, but again, another really, really strong performance from Charizard, and actually in a field that looks relatively good for Charizard based on that top cut performance. So definitely thinking about kind of replicating some of his ideas. Played no Chiyu, no Ho-Oh for a second week, making me wonder whether I actually need an answer to Dango, although Dango did just win the regional. So I want to be doing some more testing with no fire attacker in the deck. I did find with Charizard, the Chiyu, the Ho-Oh can be good against Dango, but it's actually pretty challenging to get up on that specific turn that you want it. So pivoting your entire game plan away from a very situational Chiyu or situational Ho-Oh attack might be a little bit stronger if you can find another way to navigate the matchup. He mentioned just slamming an Iono down before they convert their board to a bunch of Dangos. So if they take a 1 prize lead and choose to evolve, you can just punish them by knocking out their 2 prizers. So they are then forced to stay on that 1 prize board for an additional turn. That guarantees you at the very least an Iono to 4 plus a knockout. And if you can get some Dusknoirs going as well, you might be looking at doing some sort of play where you knock out even 2 Gimme Ghouls plus Ionoing your opponent to 3. That does make it very challenging for your opponent to destabilize afterwards and get Dangos on board. So I would be very curious to see if that is a reliable game plan here. Otherwise, not too much I really wanted to touch on here.
Still no nest balls, eh? Like Mew EX and Fez and no nest ball. I love this idea of having more draw support. Like, oh my gosh, imagine having a Mew and a Fez and a Pidgeot and your opponent's trying to Iono you. Like, that sounds awesome. We're gonna need some nest balls though.
Look at this list. This is Ovian's list, and he did not do good. But this is like the craziest Charizard list I've seen in a while. And he played so few supporter cards that he had to cut the Tatsugiri for a Cleffa because there's only 6 supporter cards that he can even find off of a track customers. But he does have a nest ball in here.
He does have a nest ball. Oh my goodness! Yeah, the 1 Arven is got to be criminal.
I talked to him and he said Palpad's his favorite card. So he said if he plays Charizard, there has to be a Palpad in there. And
what?
And yeah, he's like, I don't think Palpad is the best card in Charizard, but it's my favorite card, so I played it. It's a very very cool list. I do love the innovation, the exploring. I want to play a pretty crazy list for Buenos Aires that's in this range. I think maybe not quite this crazy, but I really like the innovation here that these guys are showing on a consistent basis. Maybe we'll see something new when Stock Cart rolls around, when we get the new sets. Always look forward to seeing these lists come out of there. So very very cool stuff. Any
Quite
other?
cool.
Is there any other lists that you wanted to talk about? We did have what is
Yeah.
this? We have Greninja EX. You want to talk about Greninja?
Like, like sure. I feel like we should talk about the Zoroark list though
Let's
first.
talk about the Zoroark. Okay, let's look at Vinny and Gabriel Fernandez's lists. Um,
Hmm.
very interesting and very different than what we saw last week from Piper.
Yeah, instead of going, so we talked about the Darmanitan and how it was good versus Ledge. It gave you some stuff to do against Dango as well. This list, really no answer to Ledge, and really no answer to Dango either. I mean, we can consider Zerosic Machinations plus an attack. I guess the Hero's Cape might be the answer to Ledge. I don't see how a Ledge is killing any Pokemon with a Hero's Cape. Is that enough to win? I don't know, but it definitely buys you a turn at some point.
An early Heroes Cape might. I actually think your late game Sarah opponent can probably hit 380. What is
Can
that?
they really?
15 is 330 because that kills Charizard. 350 is 16. 370 is 17. Can they get 18 in the discard? I think they reasonably could late game because they will get
Like
to
for their
zero.
last two, they played 20, right? So that would mean one energy on Ledge, all 18 in the discard, and
And
then
then you
one in the
have
prize
one prize. Yeah,
cards.
you can afford one prize. It's very possible. I wouldn't say it's likely, but it's very possible.
It is very possible, actually. But yeah, like a reasonably early Hero's Cape seems like okay. Probably a little less robust than the Darmanitan solution. I think. What do you think is the main reason behind this like Absol Zerosic Cape package? Like, is this for a specific matchup? I feel like it would crush the Zoroark Mirror just to be able to discard a bunch of their cards and potentially break some stalemate situations by one-shotting them with Absol. Um, I'm not entirely sure.
Well, so I think the terminal period part of this card is very cool, but it doesn't make the most sense in this setup. Usually, if there's going to be damage on your board, it's going to be on the Zoroark, and if there's damage on the Zoroark, you are using Powerful Rage for a
Outrage.
one shot, anyways. So I'm thinking more so about these like really really disruptive Claw of Darkness Zerosic or Claw of Darkness Iono turns. Those do strike to me as pretty strong. It will
Hmm.
depend on the type of deck you're facing up against, but I think decks with hard damage caps will struggle with this a little bit more. I didn't watch the full set, but I saw Gabriel Fernandez played against a Typhlosion on stream, and that strikes me as the kind of matchup where this card is very good because they cannot one shot an Absol, so you at least get two Claw of Darknesses, and that seems like enough to really wreak some havoc on the opposing side. So I think those hard damage caps are really really strong. You can also think about stuff like even just Guardy, where hitting a Hero's Cape Zoroark or Absol is very very challenging. But I think this is also a little bit of a band aid for the Dango matchup. You talked about how the Dango matchup is really bad. I played 2 games of this deck against Dango, and I got crushed from the Zoroark side in both. But I suppose the combination of Zero 6 plus Claw of Darkness could potentially steal a game or two. My biggest part that I found though is it takes a long time to set this card up. You don't have any
Yeah.
PP ups in the deck, so it has to be Janine Energy Switch attach. But if you do that, you can't play Zerosic, and discarding one card from your opponent's hand is just not going to be enough. So you really need that Zerosic package. Not entirely sure if that is good enough. Maybe against a Dango player who is unfamiliar with this kind of strategy, but I would be very surprised to see any really solid Dango players losing to an Absol with a Hero's Cape.
Do you think people might not play this moving forwards? I wouldn't be surprised to see people return to the Toad Scroll. Um, I don't know, but then you're losing to Ledge, right? The meta's so wide. It's like the core Zoroark deck is really good into all the slow stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
Guardy, Pulse. Uh, it's pretty bad into Zard actually, but it's like playable into Grim, right? And then you kind of have like, I don't know, 5 or 10 deck spots to try to beat like Raging Bolt, Goldango, Saraledge. I guess I feel like most of these decks are just giving up on the Charizard matchup.
They have Watchtower. Yeah, they can Watchtower Iono. It's probably
I guess.
it's hard, but you can probably just cheese some games by slamming Watchtower Iono on an underdeveloped board. That would be my
Attack with
best guess.
Absol.
Not even Absol, honestly. Just like swing into a Charizard for 170, and then at that point they haven't taken more than, or you haven't taken more than one prize card, so there's no max belt threat. And if they swing back into you, then it's really bad because you just nuke their Pidgeot, and they have a damage Zard on the board still. I could definitely see that taking some games. So Watchtower feels like a good answer to stuff like Terra Box, Raging Bolt, Charizard. Also shutting off opposing Blood Moons, I think, is quite strong when a lot of your lose cons are going to be Blood Moon win conditions. So if you ever end up with Fez or Petrant on your board against a deck like Joltik Box, Blood Moon is your lose con. So Watchtower shuts that off. Or against Dragapult Dusknoir, a lot of times
comes up a lot.
Yeah, so I think that I think you're right where a lot of this slower stuff is very good for it, but I don't think there's a ton of really good answers for stuff that doesn't lose to Watchtower, which makes Dengo and Saraledge very hard matchups to fix. We do have like this evil tall trapping stuff, but Saraledge decks are playing more Turos now, and they're playing Jet Energies, and then in the Dengo case, I think you're right, where I think your only valid answer is like a Toad Scroll line, if you want to reliably beat it. You can cheese some games.
Well, and then they might have the
answer.
Mega Mawile. And if they have the Mega Mawile, you might be losing anyways.
No. I saw Aiden Koos said something about Ogidogi EX farming the Mega Mawile, because Ogidogi is 260 with the Mochi. You one shot Mega Mawile, so you can get that going on that turn that you put the Toad School in play. You also will drop Ogidogi with an energy, and then if they drop the Mega Mawile with an energy card, then you can get some sort of energy switch play where you just boss and knock it out with Craze Chain. And Dengo doesn't disrupt you, so it sounds hard, but you're not getting disrupted. And
so you can do it.
I think you can definitely do it. Let me see if I can pull up Aiden Koos's list here. I don't actually remember exactly what's in it, but I know there's an Ogidogi, and I know there's a 2/1 Toad Scroll in it here. And still similar ideas with the Evil Tall and the Heroescape and the Watchtowers, but distinct lack of things like Lily's Determination in the deck. So a little bit more teched out, a little bit less consistent, but now covers the Dengo matchup a little bit better. Actually, I would say substantially better, not even a little bit better.
Substantially better. I think this covers it, like sufficiently covers that Dengo matchup.
Yeah.
So it's a question of like, how consistent do you want your deck to be versus how many matchups do you want to tech for?
Yeah, that's the question that I have with Charizard every day, man. If I'm cutting the Chi-Yu to make my deck more consistent by putting a Mew EX or something else in, I'm going to be sacrificing a good matchup into 10% of the field, but I'm going to get my deck to be 1 or 2% better into the other 90% of the field. So depending on how much this tech card and how many slots it commits, how many percentage points you get out of that one matchup, that'll determine whether it's worth it or not. But after a pretty strong weekend from Dengo, I'm inclined to think that you should be playing some sort of Dengo answer in your end Zoroark deck.
I think so too.
So can I talk about Greninja now? That's what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, sure, man. Let's talk about some Greninja.
Sure, man. I haven't even looked at this.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yes.
Oh my god.
This looks like how I wanted to build my evolving deck when Badoo was 50% of the format, where you have the Grand Tree and the Chorus's Tenacity.
Yeah.
This looks like an absolute pile. I cannot lie, but I love Greninja EX as a card. This card is so cool. Anyways, cool. I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of questions on this list. I'm actually really upset there's no Briar in this deck. This is a Terra deck with Dusknoir and Pidgeot. It's literally just Charizard and Pidgeot with the Greninja line, and they don't have the Briar in here. Surely we can fit a Briar in our deck. That's kind of upsetting, actually. But this deck is doing a whole lot. Oh my goodness. 3 Ignition Energies, 4 Water Energies as your attacking line here, and the double Chorus's Tenacity to get Ignition Energy. It's kind of cool.
Yo. Maybe I should play this against LDF.
This is not on the meta graphic.
Yo, he's not going to be playing Badu, and I might not even need to play Grand Tree, man. I can just like play a deck that just loses to item lock.
Wait,
It's like 4 candies.
you can
I can
also
still
item
play the
lock the
Grand Tree, I
opponent.
guess.
You can also item lock the opponent actually, and that's pretty cool. You can do the whole pull dust game plan with this deck where you just sit behind the Bidoof and then you grand tree out a Pidgeot and then you grand tree a Dusknoir.
And the Greninja, like, I just like blow up his whole board.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like this. And I
Yo.
was thinking about this like, oh, Barrage kind of sucks because there's a decent amount of decks playing Shaman, but you can Dusknoir the Shaman. You can do the Pal. It's like Palk Dusk.
The Palkia Dusknoir, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Except you just have Greninja EX doing the same exact thing on a stage 2 instead.
It's on a stage 2.
There's also a
Hey, but you can
Klefki
do
here.
it back-to-back turns with the Ignition Energy. Yeah, Klefki to get around Psyduck, I guess.
And you got the one switch to get into the Psyduck or into the Klefki to shut off the
Oh my
Psyduck.
gosh, and then get back out of it.
Oh yeah. This reminds me of the deck that I think his name is Kobe Kowalski. Let me see if I think, have you played against him? I feel like you played against him once.
No, maybe.
No,
Kobe Kawasaki, right? There's I think there's 2 Kawasaki brothers maybe, and they're from Seattle.
Yeah. I played against Kobe at San Antonio, and so I played against this deck, and I sat down and I had no idea what I was playing against because there's 4 different stage 2 lines. But
yeah,
all I knew is he gave me a grand tree, and I was just setting up Dusknoirs like every turn.
That's not going to work out too well for him.
No, it did not work out very well for him, unfortunately. There was a game where I went down, I think, like 4 prize cards, and I still won because his deck didn't have enough damage output to really break through a Charizard. But the conceptual idea behind like a Grand Tree kind of box deck has always been a really cool idea to me. It's just unfortunate that there's too many other decks that can utilize Grand Tree. I think if there was a format where Grand Tree stage 2 decks were the only stage 2 decks, then Grand Tree would be such a good A spec, but it's just such a broken effect to give the opponent if you're playing against like a Pult Dusk or a Charizard. I wish this card
Gardevoir, like
just make a Gardevoir.
Yeah, just put a Gardevoir into play with Grand Tree. Yeah.
Go Grand Tree Gardevoir with Mega Guardy.
Holy, then you get both of them out. Candy Guardy plus Grand Tree into Mega Guardy. And
Holy.
I mean, you don't even need the Mega. The Greninja is weak to Psychic, but
come on! It's in its own deck. You don't put the Grand Tree in play against Guardy. Surely, I think your game plan against Guardy is just pull Dusk them and just blow up their board.
Yeah. Badu, and then just kaboom.
Yeah. This is a sweet deck though. The shout out to who played this. Shout out to Marcin. This is a cool deck and very very fun idea, and having a really deep run with something in a format that I think is relatively solved, relatively stale, in at least in the terms of archetype innovation. So that's about it on the Gdansk side. I did want to quickly go over to Brisbane as well. We had a very interesting field here in Brisbane, and notably also no Gardevoirs in top 8. How do you feel about these results?
Like, I'm kind of blown away by this. Just the fact that there's no Gardevoir. I mean, at the end of the day, it's great. I mean, maybe some people are going to think that people aren't going to play Guardy to Vegas. Maybe we get some more, Pult Dusk decks in there. We get some more these aggro decks like Dango and whatnot that can't really deal with Guardy. I think this is just a result of not a lot of people playing it, or maybe the Gardevoir players that are getting unlucky. I mean, there is a lot of dark decks. That being said, like, I don't really think these dark decks actually beat Guardy any more than like 60% of the time max.
Yeah, Gardevoir had the most meta share, but the actual limitless points was like very lacking. Dragapult had 5% less in day 2, but had more total points. So just a pretty bad weekend from the Gardevoir players. Let's look at the bottom of day 2 here.
Oh no.
We got some guys over here in 128. A lot of Absol decks actually sitting at the bottom here as well.
Yeah.
I'm shocked by how much Absol there is. That's my biggest takeaway. This deck was I was just thinking after Milwaukee, this deck's gonna fall off because people know about it. I didn't really respect necessarily how played it would be. I thought
Hmm.
People wouldn't lean into it super hard, so maybe you would have a decent percentage points, and a few people do well with it. But this is just total domination, winning the regional with this now like no cornerstone setup. We talked about this a little bit before, but
Yeah.
having the Eerie, the Zerosic, the enhanced hammer, the seventh dark energy, still pretty close to what Tord originally came up with from the livelies, the charms, the energize, the double mist energy, but very very cool innovation to change your cornerstone matchups to these disruptive matchups where against Dango, Eerie and Zerosic kind of covers it a little bit. Against Charizard, Eerie and Zerosic cover it a little bit. And it seems better to have that as your answer than running into like Mega Wows and Ho-Ohs and gouging fires that just completely destroy your cornerstone game plans.
And I think give it another few weeks, maybe Vegas, Buenos Aires, maybe LAIC, the cornerstone can come back. People will stop respecting it. But for now, I think this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Um,
I'll tell you, I'm not respecting Cornerstone at all. There's no chance
yeah.
there's going to be a Ho-Oh in my deck. There'll be a Chi-Yu or nothing because there's no Cornerstone right now, so it's not worth respecting from my perspective.
Yeah, and like similarly, like um for Vegas, I doubt I'll play a Turo to respect these Evoltol lines, just because I don't think this deck will be particularly popular. And then, if other people have that same mindset, all of a sudden it opens up an opportunity for this Absol deck to come back, and we get into the
The
frequent
cycle.
patterns of the cycle of the Pokemon metagame, right? It's just
Can't wait to
right
cut my
now this
Klefki.
deck's yeah, just cut the Klefki. No one's gonna play Psyduck anymore because everyone's playing Klefki, and then everyone's gonna play the Psyduck, and it goes back and forth.
Yeah. So very, very interesting there. I didn't really see anything else that really stood out to me. Standard Pult Dusk lists. The Charizard lists were not anything super crazy, but a lot of disrespect for Guardy here with all the Pult Noirs. So might be might be a good weekend for you to be bringing Guardy back after Guardy has two flops this weekend and a rise in Pult Noir, a rise in Dango Rocks. Seems like no point in a cycle that maybe it can be well positioned.
I feel like it's always well positioned, but definitely, even particularly now, um, I am kind of concerned about this Zoroark deck. But Dango won. Maybe these Zoroark players are afraid of Dango, and they can switch off, play something else, and I can get away with Gardevoir.
Yeah, there's only so many players that will ever play Zoroark. If I go even into
That too.
the Brisbane results, we got 3 Zoroarks in day 2, 2.6%, and I don't even necessarily know how well these Zoroark decks did in Brisbane. Yeah, see all
Yeah,
3
bad.
in 128. There's only so many people that can realistically perform well with Zoroark, and you can see you look at the Lil results and you look at the Gdansk results and you see the same people playing the deck are the same best people playing the deck, which means maybe in your sample size of how many people you can expect to do well with Zoroark on a given tournament, it's only in the single digits. So not really a deck I'm ever concerned about respecting. Although if you expect to do well, you might run into like one of them.
Hmm. Hopefully, I won't pair Liam Halliburton at
No,
Vegas. If I do,
he
maybe I'll
said
I'll do some crying.
no, it's okay, man. He said that the Guardy matchup isn't that good on Twitter, so you don't have to worry about him playing it. He's gonna show up with something else for sure.
I must be missing something that he's seeing because I'm not seeing it. I'm getting cooked by Zoroark. I'll be real.
Just put the Mega Guardy in the deck. Mega Guardy
Mega
survives
Guardy.
a Night Joker for
Zoroark attack.
Vitreous Flame. Yeah, that
Okay.
was super
Maybe
good.
I'll also put a Hero's Cape in the deck so I survive Mochi.
Oh,
Hero's Cape, Mega Guardy. Lock it in. No one's killing my Gardevoir. These dark Pokemon have nothing on me.
Ollie, yeah, Burning Darkness for 240. Thanks, buddy. Anything else we should talk about, or is that a good place to leave it?
No, I think that's a good place to leave it. Yeah, reminder to our viewers, if you're headed into Vegas, going to be around on Thursday night, check out the Shadow Ball. The link will be in the description for that. All right, cool.
All right.
All right, we'll see you guys next week.